Welcome to CityWise. I'm your host, Tiana Stevens. CityWise is produced by the City of Rochester to shine a spotlight on city living at its best. In the coming weeks, Mayor Lovely Warren and the City of Rochester will join the Golisano Foundation and Best Buddies in the nationwide effort to spread the word to end the word, an ongoing campaign to raise awareness about the dehumanizing and hurtful effects of the R word. We're joined now by Evelyn Gleason, Grants Coordinator of the Golisano Foundation, and Lindsay Jewett, Program Manager at Best Buddies Rochester, to tell us more about this campaign. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
What is the R Word campaign and how did this all start?
So the R Word campaign is a nationwide campaign initiative to spread awareness about the hurtful nature of the word retarded when it comes to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Right.
The campaign itself was started in 2009 by Tim Shriver and has now spread to become a large effort that we now participate here in Rochester with.
And how is the Golisano Foundation directly involved with this?
So the Golisano Foundation brought the campaign to Rochester in 2011, so we're in our 7th year with it.
Wow.
We've been building upon it every year since then. It started with local agencies that serve people with intellectual disabilities and now has grown to include businesses and organizations that don't and are just willing to participate in helping to create a more inclusive environment.
Great. Lindsay, tell us about Best Buddies Rochester. What exactly is Best Buddies?
So along with the same lines as the Shriver family, Best Buddies is an international organization. We are in the business of putting ourselves out of business, so inclusion is really our focus.
Right.
We feel like we shouldn't have to be around to kind of help everyone push together, but here we are. We work with middle schools, high schools, and colleges in the area, bringing students that have intellectual and developmental disabilities together with their peers that do not. So really bridging those gaps that naturally exist in our society and our schools.
And is the chapter new for Rochester?
We've been here in the area for about 6 months, 7 months.
Okay.
So we're brand new. We've opened up 20 different schools in the past 6 months.
Welcome. How did Best Buddies get involved with this campaign?
So Tim and Anthony are actually brothers. So that foundation kind of goes with their kind of mission as well.
Absolutely.
We work within our school chapters to promote the cause as well.
And over the years, Rochester has kind of grown to be one of the leading cities in this effort. How did that happen?
Well, I think it's just a combination of efforts. We've included more and more programs, and with the help of organizations like Best Buddies and Special Olympics, we've been able to include more schools. And this year, we're really, really excited to have the City of Rochester on board. Mayor Lovely has been wonderful in using her voice to raise awareness about this. And they have a successful Project Search component, and Project Search helps employ people with developmental disabilities within different organizations, and they have a very successful program in Rochester which has led the way for other municipal buildings to employ people with disabilities, and so we're very excited to have her on board and thank the city for that.
So March 1st is the big day that we're talking about. What exactly happens on March 1st?
Lots of stuff. One of our programs that we have currently going on with Best Buddies is we actually pair students from Bishop Kearney and the Holy Childhood. So we are giving the experience of typical high school to our Holy Childhood friends. They're going to actually be coming into Kearney and spending the day with their buddies that they've already pre-established, and seeing what high school looks like at a different place. A lot of these kids have not been in an exclusive or inclusive school. They've always been at Holy Childhood, so it's a great experience for them, and we're really excited about that. So that's something that we're definitely doing on March 1st.
What are some of the other schools that have participated in the past and organizations?
So we've also had college chapters as well. So not only high schools that have special ed programs, but also high schools like Bishop Kearney, Mercy, McQuaid. So the Catholic schools that don't traditionally have special ed programs are also being involved, which is really awesome. We have a lot of high schools that do have those programs, and we have local businesses and organizations like the City of Rochester. WXXI always helps out, and they'll do some campaigns for us, a screening at the Little. And the events on March 1st range anywhere from having a pledge event at your school where you sign a banner to say you're going to take a stand against using the R word, to sending an email out to a company-wide email for people to sign that pledge online as well.
What do you tell people when they hear somebody using the R word? How do you prepare them to have that conversation?
I think the biggest thing is it's an education time. I don't think that everyone understands the connotations that come through with that. We live in a society that thinks before they act sometimes, and I think that knowing your audience is definitely how to go about it. I think using the idea of respect instead of using the word retard is something that we really need to focus on.
The new R word.
The new R word, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that giving them some history on it, like why is it offensive, why is it upsetting, and I think that we see when we have more programs like Best Buddies or even just promoting Spread the Word, people are getting that educational piece that they didn't get before. Like why is it not appropriate anymore?
How has social media played a role in all of this?
I think in twofold. So I think one way it gives people a platform to talk about this, to share information. Part of the R Word campaign is a huge social media component. So we're working very hard to make that #respect go viral, to make people kind of see things in a different way, to share video pieces, to share articles, and reach a broader audience to talk about the message of inclusion, which is at the heart of the R Word campaign.
Now, on the other side of that, we've seen people in the media or big corporations use the bad R word, and then the campaign reacts to that. Tell us about that and why that's so important.
So I think, as with anything, those types of moments are teachable moments. So it's taking that moment to reach out and say, hey, you may not know this, but that word is really hurtful for people. There's a long history about using the R word that you may not know about. I mean, we're talking about this word, it's still used in medical textbooks. So our involvement with the U of R and our involvement with Eastman Dental and the Strong Hospital is huge for the R word, because it's creating that piece of conversation. And we've had people like Tim Shriver write op-ed pieces as well to talk about why it might be hurtful, and especially after hearing it in the media.
I think we focus a lot on our social media talking about people, putting the individual first. So when you show a friendship or you show something that's going on with individuals that have IDD, you're putting a face to that kind of that word and that idea. So more education on how people can interact with each other no matter what, I think helps a lot too. So they're not just saying the word because they don't think about it. Now they have a person that it's attached to, that's really why you don't do it. So showing that kind of pieces as well.
Sure.
And I also think there's a little bit of fear in how we interact with people with disabilities. We're afraid to say the wrong thing, to do the wrong thing, to be in that space and be unsure of someone who is differently abled than ourselves. So having that conversation about, you can talk to people. They are people first and foremost. So using people first language, like, he's not wheelchair bound. He is someone who uses a wheelchair. He's not Downs. He is someone who has Down syndrome. So having that conversation about how to interact as well, I think, is really important.
So lots of resources on the website for people to learn, about having conversations. Also a toolkit if there's a school or a business that wants to get involved. What sort of resources can they expect to see?
Banners, pledge sheets, connections to organizations like Alisano or Best Buddies, and how to start organizations in their actual schools. We work with a lot of different schools that may not have programs like Best Buddies yet, but they still want to be involved in this. You see them involved in Spread the Word, you see them involved in the Polar Plunge, because they know that need is there. Pamphlets.
They do draft tweets. So it's as simple as you can copy and paste onto your Twitter, onto your Facebook. There's email templates, letters to the editors. I mean, it really is. When you go on and click on resources, it's all there. So whatever you want to do, the resources are there. And people are also welcome to reach out to the Golisano Foundation for some guidance as well.
How many pledge events are scheduled for Rochester this year?
Ooh, how many schools do you have?
20.
And on top of that, we have the University of Rochester, the Eastman Dental School, Nazareth, Roberts Wesleyan, RIT, and the City of Rochester, in addition to a few others. So we're talking probably 25, 30 events.
And I think some of the events are going outside of that March 1st date. So we have businesses lined up. We have a fitness event at a local gym. We have a fashion show that's an inclusive fashion show. We have a movie showing from a family that is brought in by Best Buddies. So there's lots of stuff going on all month that really kind of focus on this initiative.
Because it's important to remember that the R word and taking that stance for respect goes beyond just one day, and we should be practicing it all year round. So even if the
Absolutely.
event isn't on March the 1st, we still encourage you to do something. We still encourage you to
Right.
go out and work on creating a more inclusive community.
How has the community reaction been to the campaign?
I think people are excited. You know, I always say to people at Best Buddies that don't know Rochester, Rochester is one of the most amazing places to work. When you work with individuals that have IDD, there's so many amazing things that happen here that don't happen in other places, and I think we take that for granted a lot. So just being able to get the kids excited, we're doing a big training for them this weekend on what to do and how to make the cause big at their schools. So.
And I think it speaks for itself when you've seen how big the event has grown over the past 7 years. When we
Right.
start with just agencies that serve people with IDD and now have grown into the community at large, I think people are overwhelmingly supportive of it. And again, it's just a matter of getting the knowledge and education out there as well.
What are some of the other things that people can do to help create a more inclusive community throughout the year? Volunteering, are those opportunities available?
Yeah, definitely. I think for Best Buddies, we're always looking for people that want to have their schools involved or want to be involved with things. We do a friendship walk once a year where we just walk for inclusion, we walk for friendship. So that's something that anyone can get involved in. We do different events throughout the year where the public is invited to so they can see what we're doing, which is super important. So that's, for Best Buddies, that's a huge part of what we do.
And there's a number of different agencies in the Rochester area as well that always look for volunteers too. I mean, you can always volunteer at a Special Olympics event. You can do a run for Lifetime Assistance. They do a 5K. There's different agencies and the opportunities are there. It's just a matter of how you want to be involved and then which types of opportunities you're looking for.
Why is this so important for Rochester?
Well, I think, like Lindsay said, this is an amazing community for people with IDD, and we do sometimes take it for granted. But as we've seen, that stigma isn't gone yet. So it's still working on, not only in our community, but globally as well, to talk about the challenges faced with people with IDD. And especially here in Rochester, there's so many wonderful things, but we still need to keep reaching the community at large and people who aren't aware of it. And this campaign helps us to engage people that otherwise wouldn't be.
I think that Rochester is really an example for other areas. We really set the bar for how things are done in our communities, and just to be able to show that to other people is super important because people watch us. They want to know what's going on. They look to us for different services and whatnot and how they can better their communities. So I think just keeping that momentum going is super important.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the work you guys are doing. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
To learn more about the Spread the Word to End the Word campaign and to take the pledge to help create communities of inclusion, you can visit r-word.org.